Welcome back, everyone. It's here. And today I've got some r/BestOf for you all. As per usual, I'll be reading you the posts, giving you my opinions, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. This post was collected by Direct Caterpillar 77, and their tagline is, Satan is not a pogo stick. The original OP is Throwaway Breck, posted November 2nd, 2015. Posted to r/relationships. Content warning for misogyny, verbal abuse, and exploitation. My husband wants me to make breakfast for his coworkers 3 to 4 times a week before they go to work. We've been married for almost 4 months. My husband works a fairly lucrative office job and is a great help with the finances and bills for our house while I tackle a BA at college at the moment. For that, I'm very grateful, and I love him very much, and we are generally happy with the marriage. However, about 2 months ago, he asked me if I wouldn't mind preparing breakfast for him and a couple of coworkers a few times a week. Of course I agreed, because I know how rushed things can be in the mornings for some people, and I was glad to see my husband fraternizing with his colleagues. Also, we have a beautiful home, and it's always nice to have people over for meals. I get along with his coworkers very well for the most part, which is a plus. This has been going on for 2 months, and I didn't used to mind it much at first, but I feel that a couple mornings a week has turned into nearly the entire week, and it is too much for me. Getting up early and preparing eggs, bacon, multiple pots of coffee when there are more than just a couple of coworkers over, and occasionally stuff like pancakes and French toast. I attend night classes several nights a week, and don't get a chance to sleep in as much as I would like to. How do I respectfully tell my husband to tone it down a little with these morning visits without hurting his or his coworkers' feelings? I do not want to jeopardize his relationship with the people at work and don't want to push him or our visitors away. It has just become too much for me. Too long didn't read, my husband, who I love very much, asked me to make breakfast for him and his coworkers a couple of days a week. 2 months later, this has become more frequent and is starting to disrupt my own schedule. How do I tell him I want to take a break from this without hurting his feelings? Relevant comments. Lonnie Lee 3 comments, why can't your husband prepare these breakfasts? OP responds, admittedly, I'm a better cook than him, and I never mind making both of us meals in the mornings. Honestly, if it was just him, I could do it for the rest of my life. But it isn't just him, and I can't do it anymore. And he simply has no time in the morning as he's got to get ready and be in the office by 8 a.m. Miss Eliza B comments, this makes no sense to me. Does your husband own this office, or is he just being the trademark nice guy to his coworkers by making his wife be June Cleaver? Hand him a box of cereal. This is 2015. He can make his own breakfast. OP responds, he does not own his own office. They all work in the same office and essentially have the same job. Our home is close to the office, and he likes to boast about my famous breakfasts, which is not a big deal when it's just him and I, or him and a couple of colleagues and once in a while, but 3 to 4 times a week is not sustainable for me anymore. Do they compensate for the food? Since my husband pays for 80% of the groceries, it would be unfair of me to charge for food that is essentially not mine. Do they help clean? Nope. I have to do all the dirty dishes after they leave, pots, pans, bowls, dishes, cups, coffee mugs, and clean out the expensive coffee machine we have every morning. What is this costing? The breakfasts run us back anywhere from $280 to $350 a week. With my husband's salary, we're more than covered on that front. Money is absolutely no object when it comes to the breakfast parties. Update, November 6th, 2015, 4 days later. Hello everyone, I wanted to thank all of you who helped me out and gave me great advice and sympathy in the general thread. I had mentioned several times that I was going to sit down with my husband this Saturday and have a stern talk, but I'm sure a lot of you will be pleased to know it happened much sooner. I decided to stay home from night class on Wednesday night so that I could speak to him as soon as he arrived from work. He was very surprised to see me still in the house, as I have night class every night of the week. I brought up many good points from the thread and told him how it made me feel. I told him the 3 to 4 breakfast parties a week and coworkers visiting through the day were keeping me from focusing on my studies, and that thinking of a menu every morning was stressful and gave me anxiety. Also, the tapping on the window from random visits by his colleagues made me feel unsafe as well. These were all points brought up by Redditors in the thread, and a lot of things I had never thought about myself. There were tears and some loud moments, the first time this has happened since we've been together. But when I told him I had made a thread on Reddit, he went absolutely ballistic. He did not get to see the thread. At that point, I went to our bedroom and confined myself to the bed. A couple of hours later, he came in, got in bed, said that he was very disappointed in me, and that was that. Yesterday morning, Thursday, everything was the same as usual. He woke up smiling and radiant as always and got ready for work quicker than usual. He came out to the kitchen while I was making the breakfast for the day and told me that he was glad everything had been cleared. I gave him spare replies and didn't feel like looking at him. He was shocked to see that I had only made a basic breakfast for him. He told me other people were on the way, and I told him I had to catch the bus to the library to do research on a paper for class. Another Redditor's suggestion. We had a loud argument that stopped when people arrived at our house. I stormed out and went about my business. No words between any of us since then. Today, I did the same, except I left the house while he was getting ready. It is very sad that it all came to this, but I hope things settle down. My plan is to have another talk with him tomorrow morning and tell him that I'm willing to cut the breakfasts down to Mondays and Wednesdays only, and that all visits from coworkers are to end immediately because I do not feel comfortable with them using our home as a rest stop. You have all been very helpful. Thank you. There is nowhere to go but up from here. Too long didn't read. I told my husband that I felt stressed out and unfocused with these daily breakfast parties. We had a fight that escalated when I told him I made a thread on Reddit. Yesterday, I left the house to go to the library as the coworkers were getting here. I did the same today as he was getting ready. No words between us since then. Relevant comments. Arc13 comments, "Yikes, I'm pretty surprised by his reaction to this. Has he always been this controlling? I'm glad you set a boundary and plan on sticking with it. Good luck, but I hope he'll come around and see where you're coming from." Opie responds, "Nope, never. As I said, everything was pretty much perfect until this moment. I do plan on sticking with it." Another point I brought up was that I might be changing my class schedule in the winter and that he should expect some changes around the house. This too made him angry. It's more painful than infuriating, but whatever. I'm just glad I did it. Why tell him about the Reddit post? Well, I just wanted him to know that I wasn't being crazy and that a lot of people agreed with me. I didn't show him the thread at that point because I knew he was upset. Editor's note. In a deleted comment, it was confirmed OP and her husband are of Asian descent. Final comments. OP gave 2 tiny updates, November 9th, 2015, 3 days later in the comments. When asked if anything new, a lot of cold shouldering and silence this weekend with occasional casual talk from him unrelated to the breakfasts. I wouldn't know what to update you with today as I'm at a library studying and he had to fend for himself this morning. And user Bama Montanat. Before you did this, do you know of any other wife that performed this service for the office? OP responds, "Not that I'm aware of, but that doesn't change anything. Everything is over." The husband was definitely enjoying all the praise and all the accolades that came with having a house near the office that coworkers could just stop by and get free food with no cleanup, or no money spent. So a lot of them just became takers and takers and takers, and because the husband didn't have to do anything to actually help out, he got all the praise while the wife did all the work. And he didn't give a shit how much it was actually taking from his wife's time. And it's actually really telling and pretty goddamn revolting that when she woke up and made breakfast for him, he had the cocky-ass fucking response of, "I'm glad everything has been cleared." See, the entire time before we got to the second update, I was thinking in my head of this would actually be really easy just to solve without causing any kind of gripes or discomfort. Wife lets the husband know, "Hey, this is a lot of pressure off of me." Husband, in a perfect world, would go, "Oh shit, I'm sorry. I didn't realize this was doing that much to you. Yeah, we'll tone it back. I'll just tell the coworkers that, hey, you're starting a new class schedule and it's making mornings incompatible now." And boom, everything's solved. This way, no one's disappointed. You're not suddenly the villain in their eyes, and we can proceed with things as normal and you can kind of relax now. But no, it's incredibly clear that he valued the opinions of his coworkers and the free meals they were literally getting from him over his wife's comfort and ability to exist. It's a shame that we never got any updates beyond this, but in a circumstance like this, this is kind of an eerie look into the future of what being with him might actually be. You don't actually get your freedom. The school was just kind of a guide so you felt like you did. In all actuality, he just wants a live-in maid that makes food for his coworkers that he doesn't have to clean up for. My question would be in a circumstance like this is, what does he do for you? Is it just the money? Does he just provide the money and leave that as a, Well, we make this money, so therefore you should be happy and call it good. Does he take you places? Does he buy you anything nice? Does he do things for you, like cleaning, or give you like a massage, or just like kind things, or like draw a bath for you, or literally anything to make your day-to-day life a little bit nicer, even if it's just small things to show that he cares? Or is it just, here's a stack of hundreds that I just bought groceries, go make my coworkers some fucking breakfast? Also, how dare you be upset that they tap on the windows and show up in the middle of the day? Good God. Just, ugh. This post was collected by Big O Nerd. I'm sorry I read your name like that. OP is Basil Puzzle-Headed 112, posted to r/Am I Overreacting, April 15th, 2026. As a general content warning, this post deals heavily with addiction, alcohol, and, well, just anything surrounded that could possibly come up. Am I overreacting for kicking my best friend out after she said my husband is going to relapse? Throw away because I'm pretty sure my best friend knows my main Reddit account. For context, my husband, 42 female, that's not right. For context, my husband, 42 male, and I, 40 female, have been married for 10 years. We met when we were 15 and 17, and neither of us had an easy upbringing. We both came from pretty rough, traumatic backgrounds, and we coped in unhealthy ways, mainly through alcohol. By the time we were together as teenagers, we were already deep into addiction. We dated for about 4 years, and honestly, the relationship was extremely toxic. I won't go into detail, but I think you can imagine what it looks like when two teenagers with unresolved trauma and substance abuse issues try to build a relationship. My best friend has known me for literally my whole life, so she saw all of this firsthand. Eventually, my husband and I separated. Over the years, we both got sober independently. We went through rehab, therapy, AA. We stayed apart for a long time while focusing on recovery. We only reconnected years later when we were both in a much healthier place, and we didn't get married until we were well into stable recovery. Now, my best friend lives in another country for work, so we're long distance. We still talk all the time, messaging almost daily, and I see her once or twice a year when one of us visits. She couldn't come to our wedding back then because of financial reasons, which I completely understood. At the time, my husband and I weren't doing great financially either. Importantly, she has never expressed any concerns about my husband before. Not once. 2 days ago, she was in town and came over to my place. My husband wasn't home because he was at an AA meeting. Yes, we both still attend regularly, even after years of sobriety. It's something we take seriously, and it helps us stay grounded. At first, everything was great. We were cooking together, laughing, catching up. Then she asked where my husband was, and I told her he was at AA. She rolled her eyes and said, "He still goes?" That immediately threw me off. I kind of laughed awkwardly and said, yeah, of course. She started going on about how people like that don't really change and how alcoholics always relapse eventually. She kept saying she was worried about me, that I was putting myself back into a dangerous situation, and that she had seen this before. What really got to me was she kept talking about my husband like he was still the same person he was as a teenager. She completely dismissed the years of work he's put into recovery. And mine too, honestly. At one point, she even started crying, saying I wasn't listening to her and he's going to relapse and kill me. Like, what? He has never been physically violent, not even when we were both deep in our addiction. I understand that she probably thinks she's protecting me, but it felt incredibly unfair and honestly, pretty insulting. Not just to him, but to me as well. After about 20 to 25 minutes of this, I was overwhelmed and honestly triggered. I told her, as calmly as I could, that I needed her to leave. She looked shocked, but didn't argue. She just grabbed her things and left. We haven't spoken since. Now, I'm sitting here wondering if I overreacted. Part of me feels like I could have handled it better or tried to de-escalate instead of asking her to leave, but another part of me feels like what she said crossed a line. Comments. See perspective 8064. You definitely didn't overreact. Her comments were out of line and pretty disrespectful to both you and your husband. You both worked hard to get to where you are, and she should respect that instead of projecting her fears onto you. It's okay to set boundaries when someone triggers you like that. OP responds, Thank you. I definitely need to get more comfortable setting boundaries. It's my first time getting triggered that bad and asking someone to leave. I felt like I might have been overreacting because, to be fair, she did see how self-destructive and toxic with each other we were at that time, and it probably wasn't easy for her, but we've both been sober for years. User trying to contribute comments. Not sure if you did, but leaning towards not overreacting. You said she kept going after your husband and felt you went through the same thing. Did you attempt to correct her? Did you tell her that what she was saying about him, she may as well be saying about you? Did you tell her you still attend AA? If not, then you're overreacting, as you should have. From what you, or AI, wrote, it sounds like you just listened to her and asked her to leave without trying to correct her. Opie responds, I tried to correct her at first, when she was just saying that people can't change. I was a bit confused as it came out of nowhere. She has genuinely never expressed any of this in 10 years. But I tried to tell her that we both haven't ever relapsed and are in much better places. However, when she cried and implied he would hurt me physically, which he has never done, even when we were at the peak of our toxicity, it was just too much to handle, and that's when I told her to leave. She does know I still attend AA and go to therapy, as I've talked to her about it before. She's actually very supportive of me still going to AA, surprisingly. And sorry if it sounds like AI, I 100% wrote it myself, I can tell. But use Google Translate for some parts, haha. My first language is French. I can definitely tell. Not that it's like a bad thing, I'm just saying I can tell because I'm having to do like on-the-fly quick corrections for some of the, improper tenses or just words that shouldn't be there. Nothing to be ashamed about, by the way, because I'm hardly even monolingual. I don't even have a first language. OP here knows at least two. Continuing on, Nod Nard Samaj comments, I'm an addict and alcoholic myself, 9 years clean and sober. You're not overreacting at all. I'm so sorry about your friend. It sounds like she may need help herself. The only way I'd continue talking to her is if she apologized without being asked to. Opie responds, thank you so much. She hasn't messaged me since and I haven't either, but hopefully we can have a conversation soon as it really came out of nowhere. Congratulations on your sobriety. User Repulsive Range 6627 comments, not overreacting. At best, it sounds like she doesn't understand addiction or AA specifically. As I'm sure you know, people with decades of sobriety still attend. I'm also confused why she'd first act like it's ridiculous that he still goes, then completely flips to he's a violent killer. I'm wondering how supportive of the relationship she's truly been. Missing the wedding. Opie responds, it's true that a lot of people don't really understand AA and think it's about people in active addiction / who are relapsing, while people who have been sober for 20 or 30 years still go to meetings. I was very shocked by her saying that he'd kill me and be violent physically towards me. He has never and would never put his hands on me, even if he relapses one day. She has been pretty supportive in my opinion, sent us wedding gifts when she couldn't attend and regularly asks about how we're doing, which is why this was so shocking. She talks very well with my husband when he's around and has never expressed any concerns to me. User It's Sophie Baby XO comments, how long has your husband been sober? Opie responds, he's been sober for a bit over 11 years. Final update, April 17th, 2016, 2 days later. Firstly, thank you to everyone who commented on my original post. I didn't expect it to get that much attention, but I read through as many comments as I could, and it genuinely helped me organize my thoughts. It's only been 2 days, but a lot has happened in that time. A few people suggested I talk to my sponsor before doing anything drastic, which I did the same day I made my post. He knows both me and my husband pretty well and has seen most of our entire recovery journey, so I trust his perspective. He suggested I try to have a calm conversation with her and focus on explaining how her words affected me, using I feel, I felt statements, which I'm admittedly not great at. So, I decided to FaceTime her this morning. It didn't go the way I hoped. She picked up and the first thing she said was, so, have you finally calmed down and moved on from all that? I still tried to stay calm and told her that I wasn't calling to argue, but to explain why what she said hurt me so much. I told her that the things she said about my husband didn't just affect him, they affected me too, because I'm also a recovering alcoholic who still goes to AA. It felt like she was dismissing both of our recoveries. she started crying again, pretty quickly. Some comments on my last post mentioned the possibility of projection, so I tried to ask her if something had happened, if maybe she had met someone who struggled with alcohol and was violent, or if she was dealing with something she hadn't told me about. She got defensive and said no, and then told me she would never do what I did, and be with a man like that. We ended up talking for over an hour, and it mostly went in circles. At one point, she said she only trusts alcoholics she knows, meaning me, because she knows I won't relapse. I pointed out that that's not really how recovery works. There's never a 0% chance for anyone, including me. If anything, that's why we still go to meetings and take it seriously, even after all these years. She also admitted that she's never liked my husband. That part hurt a lot. Over the years, they've had plenty of conversations, joked around, and seemed perfectly fine with each other. She never once expressed any issues before, so hearing that now felt honestly a bit like betrayal. She kept insisting that she knows how this ends and said she's completely convinced he's going to relapse and kill me because she's seen what he's capable of. For clarity, my husband has never been violent, not once, even at our worst. When we were both deep in addiction, he has never raised his voice at me, let alone hurt me. It was mostly just a lot of sadness and crying at that point in our life, LOL. I really tried to meet her halfway because she's been my best friend for over 20 years, but every time I tried, she doubled down. I told her I loved her and that I genuinely hope she's okay, but that I can't have someone in my life who sees me and my husband that way and refuses to acknowledge any growth. Then I told her I wished her the best and hung up. So yeah, that's where things stand with this whole thing. It really hurts, but I think some of you were right. Sometimes people get stuck seeing a version of you that doesn't exist anymore, and no matter what I say, she won't change her views. I guess I just didn't expect that from her. Thank you again to everyone who took the time to comment. It meant more than I can really explain. Comments. Liz Lemony Snicket 42. I'm so sorry you're going through this. Her behavior is really bizarre and nonsensical to me. Saying she only trusts addicts she knows doesn't even make sense because she knows both of you. And if she felt this strongly, she should have spoken up years ago. You handled the situation so well and gave her every opportunity to hear you. I hope she comes around, but either way, good on you for protecting your and your spouse's well-being. OP responds, I'll really never understand why she chose to bring this up 10 years into my marriage if she's always felt this way. Thankfully, my husband is here for me through this. Losing friends is hard, but I'm convinced I made the right decision when I see how sweet he is with me. Comment from user Wonderful Ad 6089. Not overreacting, and I'm so sorry that things went this way. It does really make me wonder if she's having some sort of health issue that impacts her mood and thought process, especially because she's convinced he's going to kill you. Did she ever explain more about how she supposedly has seen what he's capable of? Like, I know you said he never hurt you or got violent with you, but could he possibly have done something to someone else in the time that you were apart and she somehow saw or heard about it? Is there a mutual friend/acquaintance that maybe she was talking to about disliking your husband and they told her something, real or made up, that has made her think this? It's just so weird. But I agree that everything she was saying about your husband is going to relapse because all addicts relapse and can't change who they are is directly applicable to you too. The fact that you both still go to meetings makes it less likely you will relapse because you know the risks and are being proactive about managing your addiction. It sounds like after all this time, she never actually took the time to learn about this thing that is so impactful to you and will always be super impactful to you, whether you are with your husband or not. It's like she wants to pretend that you aren't really an addict, or like she blames your addiction on your husband, like he did it to you. Maybe that's what she means, that your husband is going to relapse and that he'll drag you back into your addiction behaviors, and that your addiction behaviors will cause you to die, and she'll blame him for killing you. I mean, I don't know your friend, so I can't say that with certainty. Maybe she thought you two would break up a long time ago and something made her realize that you aren't going to, like your 10-year anniversary or something. And so she's been obsessing over this for a long time and finally couldn't hold it in anymore. Again, that's just speculation. My dad was an addict, and I got caught underage drinking as a teenager and was forced to go through an outpatient treatment program where I met and got to know a lot of kids and their families that were dealing with addiction issues. I'm no expert, but I'm sure your friend was impacted by your addiction, and if she doesn't want to accept that and the feelings that came from that and has been bottling it this whole time, it can come out in some real messed up ways. Anyway, sorry this is so long. Congratulations on you and your husband's continuing sobriety and on your 10-year anniversary. Sending good vibes in your direction. OP responds, thank you for taking your time to write this. For your first point, I will speak to most people who were in my life when me and my now husband were actively drinking, and none of them ever had anything bad to say about him. My husband wasn't a very great person when he was actively drinking, but he has never done anything physically, or verbally for that matter, violent to anyone. He actually struggles quite a bit with being able to be firm with people, even those who cross his boundaries, lol. He's a big softy at heart. He still speaks to 99% of the people who knew him during that time, and most of them also only have good things to say about him and his recovery, so I don't think anyone could have told her otherwise. I'm 99% sure she didn't mean that he'd drag me back down into alcoholism if he ever relapsed, as she made other comments about him possibly hitting me while being drunk. There is a possibility that she may have been triggered by us possibly having a big change in our life. We talked about having children for a bit, and I shared that with her. We did end up deciding it wasn't the best idea for us, as we're very focused on our career and don't want to bring a child into a life where we can't give them 100% of what they deserve. But that was almost a year ago, so I'm not sure why that would resurface now. As for your last point, my alcoholism definitely affected her as well during our younger years. I won't make the claim that she was traumatized by it, as she's never used that word for herself, so I don't want to put a label on it that wouldn't be appropriate to her experience. I was pretty much a sad alcoholic. All I would do was binge drink in my room alone and cry. Sometimes, while in those binging spirals, I would text/call her a lot for mental support. I will forever feel awful for this, as we were all kids and she shouldn't have to deal with this. She has gone to therapy about this and other things, this was just the first reason for going, for years. I recommended it to her when I started my sobriety journey 10 plus years ago and realized the impact my actions had on other people. I hope this wasn't due to her bottling those feelings up and them resurfacing years later, because I've always thought myself to be very open about those things. If she would have come to me about her fears/hidden resentments without blowing up on me, I would have loved nothing more than to reassure her. So would have my husband. Anyways, point is, I don't think I'll ever truly know what her reasoning for this happening, except if she ever comes back. Which, knowing her, I doubt. Thank you again for your kind comment. So, I've personally seen what hard drugs beyond alcohol can do to an individual, and the journey and steps it takes to recover, and the kind of self-control and discipline it takes. I've also seen what alcoholism can do to someone in the family, and what it can do to them when they refuse to take the steps to recover. Even those who are approaching their own journey in their own speed and at their own recovery rate. It's heavy. It takes a lot of self-control and discipline, and it definitely takes a lot to fight those urges and to be able to move forward. It takes a strong person. And anyone who's able to battle their addiction and to get through it and to start taking steps towards a better life, they have an infinite amount of respect from me. And the thing is, 11 years sober isn't a walk in the park. That's no joke. The first year, yeah, is always going to be the hardest, but to continue that for over a decade and to continue that battle and to continue that fight, that's a lot of self-control. And for someone to just so callously dismiss not just OP's husband, but her own journey in one fell swoop of, oh, well, all addicts are like this, or, oh, it's inevitable, no one really changes. That bit in the post about how sometimes people get stuck seeing a version of you that doesn't exist anymore. And no matter what you do, no matter how your actions might prevail, and the fact that your words are no longer speaking for you, but your actions are, that they'll still just see you as who you were 20 years ago in this case. And the growth that you've pushed yourself through and what you've done to make yourself better doesn't matter, because you'll always be the dumb teenager who was a sad alcoholic to them. Or actually, in this case, make up variations of the individuals she knows and claims that they're violent and they'll have outbursts that'll end up killing OP if she remains in a relationship with someone who's been sober for 11 years. I feel like at that point in time, she's more likely to end up in a car accident that takes her life than anything else. It's just incredibly dismissive and harmful, and it completely invalidates the progress that not just OP and her husband have made, but anyone who struggled, suffered, but taken those first few steps to make themselves better. This post was collected by Big O Nerd. The original OP is Sufficient Coach 554, posted to r/am_I_the_asshole, March 19th, 2025. Am I the asshole for pretending that I quit my job because my partner kept devaluing it? My husband, 28 male, and I, 27 female, have been together for 7 years, married for 3. He earns more than me, so I also end up doing more around the house to compensate for that. But my job covers the monthly rent and all my monthly expenses, including medical insurance, life insurance, debt, etc. I work in finance, so I don't earn badly by any means, and we'd struggle a bit if we were to live on his salary alone. I also manage all the finances for the family since it's my field of expertise anyway. I make sure all the bills get paid, monthly budgeting, managing our debt repayment plan, etc. Because I work remotely for a foreign company, the hours I have to be online for work is from around 4 p.m. to midnight, 5 days a week. He wants to go out for dinner with a friend, just him, his friend, friend's girlfriend, and me. And despite him knowing what my work schedule is, and me reminding him I can't just come and go as I please, they went ahead and planned it for next Friday. Friend and friend's girlfriend are also very aware of my schedule, and I've spoken to them directly about it too. Fridays are my worst days, and ones I absolutely can't mess with because of strict work deadlines. I also have a recruiting meeting with an important client on a Friday night at 8 p.m. Once again, I've made them all aware of this multiple times, and it gets ignored. They're all available the whole weekend, but refuse to move it to Saturday to just help make my life a little easier. Moving into the day after will literally not inconvenience any of them in any way. I'd happily just not go at all, but they guilt trip me for days afterwards if I don't go, which makes me feel like crap. They keep doing this. I keep asking them not to, and they just don't seem to care. Needless to say, I've had enough. Here's where I might be the asshole. Basically, when I got mad that they're doing this to me for the umpteenth time, and I voiced my frustration to my husband, he was incredibly dismissive and basically implied that my job is not important. Needless to say, it was the straw that broke the camel's back. Today, I had no meetings, so purposefully stayed in my PJs all day and pretended like I was playing video games. My desk is positioned in such a way that there is a wall right behind me, and he physically cannot see my screen unless he walks behind my desk and stands right next to me. We also have separate studies, so anytime I see him approach, I'd minimize the programs I use for work and open the video game I'm playing. When he asked me about it, I told him that since my job is of so little consequence, that I've decided to resign because it was stressing me out so much. If it's not important, then it's not worth stressing myself over. Well, he freaked out about it, and I just kept repeating that my job's not important, so I don't understand why he's so upset. I'm not usually one for confrontation, but once I've finally lost my cool, I can be quite petty. After some back and forth, he eventually stormed off to the other room and I continue working secretly. After a while, I got bored with the whole charade and told him I was lying and that I didn't actually resign. And, well, long story short, he's furious with me and is currently out taking a walk to clear his head. I just felt like no one was listening to me. And all I was asking for was for them to just be a bit accommodating. But they repeatedly pulled this stuff for years now. Talking obviously wasn't getting through to any of them, so I figured I needed a change of strategy for it to get through to him at least. So am I the asshole? Also, English isn't my native language, please disregard any mistakes. Edit. My wording was a bit confused, so just clearing it up. Our medical insurance, life insurance, and debt aren't combined. When I say I'm paying medical, life insurance, and debt, I'm talking about my own, not both of ours. He covers his own. We had these policies before we got married, and merging them is a pain in the butt. Comments. OK Potato 6250, who's downvoted, comments, everyone sucks here. Him and your friends suck for not planning around your schedule, but you took it too far and lied. You could have just said, I can't go as I'm working. It's shitty for you to book it for a time that I'm not available. It really seems like this is deliberate and you don't want me there. Use your words. Buddy, she fucking did. OP responds, I've tried this approach. They keep giving me fake apologies and then they just do it again anyway. Queen Levine comments, info, if you're paying rent, how is he the bigger contributor financially? OP responds, he pays everything else, utilities, internet, all groceries and other bills, insurance, the car payment, transport, entertainment expenses, etc. And he also has some debt repayments. We're also helping his parents with money every month. Their taxes are behind, so we're saving up for a big tax bill for them too. User, your what the fuck is my for the win. Oh wow. This comment made it even worse. So you're considering his contribution bigger because he covers expenses that are bigger than your rent, which consists of his and his parents' personal debts? Opie responds, for about 3 years I was unemployed and he covered literally all of my expenses without complaint. It was a very difficult time and I couldn't find any work. But we got through it. Sometimes one pays more than the other, then maybe later down the line the other picks up the slack. His parents are very dear to me, so I don't mind helping them. I'm closer to his mom than I ever was to my own, and they are genuinely good people. User Medicine Conscious 728 comments, you know you can do better than him, right? What the heck is going on? Opie responds, it's difficult. My whole family is dead, so he and his family are all I really have. I get on well with his parents, siblings, and nieces. He's generally not an ass in other cases. It's just this one thing for some reason I can't wrap my head around. User Golden Flicker, who was downvoted, comments, but seriously, why don't you find a different job with normal hours? Opie responds, I have delayed sleep phase disorder, so I struggle to fall asleep and wake up at what is considered a normal time. This job actually works really well for me. When I used to work regular hours, I'd feel like shit 24/7. I always feel well rested now with this schedule, and I really like it actually, lol. Golden Flicker responds, that's interesting. How do you figure out that you had this condition? OP responds, my diagnosis was a joint effort between my psychiatrist and a sleep clinic, but I was only diagnosed with it a few years ago as an adult. Was hooked up to a little device while I slept. I can't remember how many nights I had to do this, and had to keep a sleep diary for a bit. Basically, I had a very traumatic experience at night when I was 6, and my insomnia actually stems from severe PTSD. So that's why my psychiatrist was involved in the process. I am very restless when I try to sleep at night because my body subconsciously thinks I'm in danger. So I need to take strong sleeping pills to stay asleep, which has me waking up feeling groggy. If I sleep during the day, on the other hand, I need no meds. I'm out cold within 2 minutes, and I wake up feeling great. User Apollyanna11 comments, I think your response was hilarious, but since you live with an entitled dismissive asshole, you didn't get the laugh you deserved. Just curious, why do you spend time with people who think so little of you? Opie responds, he's been good friends with this guy for over 20 years now, so I do it because I'm trying to be a good and accommodating wife, I guess, lol. I don't particularly care about hanging out with them, but I don't want to cause drama and make things uncomfortable. It's not nice when your significant other and friends don't get along, so didn't want to do that to him. User Device Motor 3938 comments, if he makes more than you, but you pay all the rent, medical, and life insurance plus debt, what exactly does he pay for, besides being belittling for your job? Are you sure you're not being taken advantage of? Opie responds, we haven't gotten around to merging all our expenses, so I pay for my own medical, my own life insurance, my own debt. He pays for his medical, life insurance, debt, etc., including our joint household insurance, utilities, internet, groceries, transport, and entertainment expenses. He also helps his parents out a lot. I see all his finances, so I know where all the money goes, and I also help his parents with accounting and tax stuff, so I can see what he pays to them they are actually receiving. Nothing funny going on when it comes to finances. I'm an accountant and worked as an auditor, so I know what to look out for. User Killer Cheese comments, okay, I'm going to start with my verdict, which is obviously not the asshole, but I'm curious about something. You mentioned at the beginning of your post, he earns more than me, so I end up doing more around the house to compensate for that. But then, a bit further down, you said, the hours I have to be online for work is 4 p.m. to midnight, 5 days a week. So you are working 40 hours a week. And so what I'm curious about is this. How many hours a week does he work? I have so many thoughts, but I don't want to expand on them until I know how many hours he works per week. Also, don't apologize for your English. First of all, it's excellent. Secondly, the fact that you are not monolingual doesn't mean that you owe those who are an apology for not speaking a language that isn't your first language perfectly. OP responds, sure, so while I need to be online for that time, I might not always have a full 40 hours of work to do. So the first 2 weeks of the month are very, very busy for me because of work deadlines, clients want their month-end accounts, and the last 2 weeks of the month tend to be a bit quieter. I will usually only have full 8-hour days during those first 2 busy weeks. The other weeks will be 5 or 6 hours a day depending on if they have ad hoc work for me to do. He works his ass off, at least 12 hours a day, and I can vouch for that since he mostly works from home too. I guess that also makes me feel pretty guilty. And thank you. Update, 1 week later, March 26th, 2025. So, this blew up way more than I thought it would. I can't physically respond to every comment or message I receive, so I apologize for that. It's just been a hectic couple of days, but thank you for commenting and messaging. It's nice to know I'm not being unreasonable here. Won't be a long update, but basically, husband saw the Reddit post and got pissed off at me about it. He left, and he's probably at his friend's place because his mom would have contacted me by now if he was there. Her and I are very close. Haven't heard from him in days, but I do see him posting on Instagram from time to time. This time spent alone made me realize I really don't need to stick around for any of this, and I'm actually really enjoying my time alone. So, I'm filing for divorce. This marriage doesn't make me happy, it only stresses me out. Luckily, we don't have kids, never plan on having any either, but I'm close to his family, which really sucks. Maybe that's why I put up with so much for so long, because I don't actually have any living family left, which is a bit scary. I've already let the leasing agent know we'll be canceling our lease early, as at the end of April, I need to give at least 1 month's notice. I'm going to look for a smaller place for myself because I can afford to support myself with the money I make if I downsize, so that shouldn't be an issue. I'm nervous about no longer having a family, but not as upset about the divorce as I thought I would be. So yeah, not a very exciting update, but it is what it is. Damn, Buddy left home because he was embarrassed by the fact that Reddit was dragging him through the mud of all places and saw that a lot of people were calling him the asshole, and rather than reflect and actually be a decent, caring husband and have a conversation with his wife, decided, you know what, I'll show her, she needs me at the house, and decided to go stay somewhere undisclosed for who knows how long. And in the meantime, wife realized, I'm actually happier alone. Oops. I don't know, OP, did you try talking with him? Did you try maybe asking to see if he could be more respectful of your schedule on Friday nights? Did you think of maybe doing that before doing this and lying? Did you? Also, existing at night has its pros and cons. Like, for me, I enjoy the night schedule because it's quiet. I get to go for a drive at night and just not have any traffic on the roads. I get to just kind of have a good time. 24-hour car wash, get to have some fun, washing my car, grab some snacks from a gas station, or hell, even around 5 a.m. when the grocery store's open, be one of the first in to grab groceries and go home. It's nice existing as a ghost. But unfortunately, because of just how life is, I end up having to have some kind of obligation in the middle of the day, so I have to stay up, and then my whole sleep schedule shifts, and then it takes like a week to get it back to where I like it to be. This is unfortunately really common, and I end up with a drifting sleep schedule, so technically, in a weird way, sometimes I'll have months with 32 days, and sometimes I'll have months with 29 days. I don't know if that makes any kind of sense. This post was collected by Sharkava, and their tagline is, "You get what you pay for and Reddit is free." The original OP is Mellow Yellow 435, posted on r/TrueOffMyChest the 27th of October 2025, with a new update as early as April 20th. My daughter treats me like shit and worships her deadbeat dad. My kid's dad died 9 years ago when my daughter was 13. She's now 22. She worships his memory and often treats me very poorly. I know I make a lot of mistakes, but he was an abusive drug addict who put us all through hell. I was able to shield her from a lot of it, which I am so thankful for. But it means she has very little understanding of all the awful shit he did. I've never said a bad word about him, and I'm glad that she'll always have a perfect father instead of the deadbeat she would have eventually realized he was. It still sucks that I have to take the brunt of her anger and trauma, because I'm here, an imperfect human, while he gets to be forever faultless. I'll always be there for her, imperfect, but still here. I love her more than words can express. Some days are just really hard. Comments. Free Reflection 5259. I think your daughter is old enough to know the truth. She's an adult. It might be the only thing that can save your relationship because she's living in a delusion that's making her angrier and angrier. Once kids know what their parents went through, they begin to see them as real people, and not just parents. She might be angry at first, but she needs her one living parent, so she has to let go of the dead one. The false idea she has of him. OP responds, I don't disagree with you, but I can't get her there. She would just resent me more. I'm hopeful she'll get there on her own eventually. All I can really do right now is be here for her when she's ready. User Free Reflection 5259 comments, she'll never be ready unless she has all the information. She's not a mind reader or a time traveler to see the shit happen. You can only deal with what you have, and she doesn't have all the information. Also, the longer you let this run, the guiltier she'll feel when she finds out, and eventually she will. From somebody. And then it might be in a bad way. At that point, you won't have any say or control of the situation. If you go to her and speak your truth, then you can be part of the healing for her. Keeping things from people never works out, even if it's to protect them. Like I said, she's not a child, and she deserves the truth. I actually know someone who went through this exact thing, and when she realized who her dad was from someone else, it broke her as a person. She'll never be the same again, and she resents all men and her mom for not telling her. Now her older sister was told by their mom, so she's dealt with it immensely better. Their mom thought, oh, she's too young, so let me tell the older one only. Horrible move, because the younger one got the information from a gossipy family member who went into details that weren't necessary. The younger one is plagued with anger issues too. It's just turned out bad. User Cheap Towel 3037 comments, you don't need to tell her. What's that gonna do? People act like she'll automatically switch and start worshipping you and hating her dad. She's still young, and give her time to figure it out. OP responds, thank you. The situation is far more complex than I can put into a few paragraphs, especially if you want to keep it anonymous. Most days are better than yesterday. I was just feeling down and needed to vent about the unfairness of it all for a minute. Today has been much better. Update, 6 months later. I posted a few months ago about my daughter treating me terribly while nearly deifying her dead dad, who was extremely abusive while he was alive. Over the next few weeks, she became more and more hostile to me. She would also tell me about extremely concerning decisions she was making and was starting to sound more and more unstable. She lives on her own, 30 minutes away near the state university, so it was very difficult for me to give her the little bit of help she would allow. Long story short, she ended up in inpatient care where she was diagnosed with mild schizophrenia. She's now medicated and is doing so much better, though still struggling in many ways. Turns out all of the hostility towards me was based on delusions she was having about me. Now that she is medicated, we're back to talking nearly every day. I love her so much. I am so scared for what the future will hold for her. This is such a scary diagnosis, and it has not been all smooth sailing. But I'm also just glad to understand what has happened to her, and to be able to get her the support and care she needs. To the people who declared I was clearly a terrible mother, and they knew exactly why my daughter hated me, who demanded I tell her the truth immediately, please let this be a lesson to you. If I had listened to your advice, my daughter might very well be dead right now. Life is not a movie where things are always easy, obviously correct answers, and nothing bad will ever happen if you just do things the right way. When in doubt, choose to be kind. You don't know the whole story, you don't know the perfect solution. Life is not as easy as Reddit commenters make it seem. Comment, Javel1. That is a scary diagnosis, but so happy she found help. Sending hugs. User, I wish I was a bassist comments. She's lucky to have you, miss. I hope the best for you and your daughter. Less than 3. Or heart emoticon. Sometimes under. I haven't left a comment on Reddit in a second, but this post called to me. After a long time of being misdiagnosed, getting my diagnosis of schizoaffective was scary, but ultimately helpful. Make sure she's taking her medication daily and is going to her psychiatrist and therapy. Her support system is what's going to help her through this life, which is progressive with age. Thank you for being in her life. I hope she knows how much you care and love her. So there are kind of two sides to this story here. And I don't mean sides as in things to choose, I mean like two factors. On one hand, it's the person who deifies someone missing from their life and they're just looking at all the memories with rose-tinted glasses. Media actually has a pretty common trope of like portraying this, where You have a character who's constantly like, oh, my uncle, or oh, my brother, or, X, Y, and Z, they're so great, and all these tall tales, whether it's Eddie from Ed and Eddie, or recently Charlie from Smiling Friends, and I'm sure many others I can't think of now, where once you finally meet that character who's been hyped up for the entire series, it's like, oh, they're a piece of shit, and usually it involves some kind of growth arc where everyone's coming together, or the person finally grows up and realizes like, oh, I don't need to have you as a crutch anymore, and everyone's happy and it's Hallmark movie-esque, but unfortunately that's not always how this happens, and it becomes a lot more complicated after the passing of said person, and you only have those rose-tinted glasses and no ability to actually, well, realign yourself with the reality of it. And while learning the truth when age-appropriate is usually the correct decision, this is one of the instances where it's not, where a lot of the deification and other angry behaviors are caused by a potential series and slew of misdiagnoses. Hopefully when the daughter's in a better position and she's able to actually take steps forward and feel more comfortable in her own mind and skin and body, you'll be able to have that conversation with her when she's ready. That is, of course, if it's even needed. Although that would be something that I would honestly talk to a professional about, because they would have a better insight on this than some random Reddit YouTuber would ever. That being said, OP, I hope your relationship with your daughter continues to blossom now that you guys have an idea of what direction to go at least. Hello there! Welcome to the outro. It seemed to resonate with some people when I mentioned the fact that if you buy another creator's flavor using my code, you support two creators at once. Same goes for like their shirts, or really honestly anything else. So if you use code odds and go and pick up another creator's flavor, it supports both of us. I mean, hell, when people were purchasing my cup, I saw that smaller creators' codes were being used to grab my cup, which means that I was supported as well as that smaller creator was, and it was kind of a win-win. In an age of AI and artificial content creators, or just spammed bloat of like AI film reviews that are oftentimes not even close to being factually correct, I think it's good for fellow content creators who are human, who have blood pumping through our veins, at least most of us do, to support each other. And you, the audience, serves as that beautiful bridge over that gap. Also, YouTube is pushing this channel into the recommendations of other people again, which means a lot of people are being introduced to, well, me, which is whatever the fuck this is. So howdy, and welcome to hell.